Hey South Africa, let me take you straight into something that will shake you. Johan Rupert, the billionaire so many call the shadow hand of South Africa, publicly admits that he threatened to fake evidence against Julius Malema. Yes, you heard me correctly. A man who controls billions says he was ready to lie to the world to destroy Malema. And if you think that's just a small moment of banter, think again. This reveals something much darker about the power games happening in our country.
And now, of course, people have left him, and they now say, I'm controlling Julius. I've never met him. But I did send him a text message through a friend that if he doesn't stop lying about me, I'm going to tell the world that I actually do give him money. All I have to do is to put the little text out and then make it look like it was an accidental direct message and lie. All I have to say is, I've met you, I like you, and I'm actually backing you. So stop lying about me, and I won't lie about our relationship. I've never met you, but I promise you, two can play the game.
Let's get straight to it. In this interview, Rupert speaks openly, almost arrogantly. He says he never met Malema, but then calmly states that he sent a message through a mutual friend, warning Malema that if he didn't stop talking about him, he would fabricate a message suggesting that he funds Malema. Let me stop here. Understand the gravity. This is not some Twitter troll making threats. This is one of the most powerful men in Africa, publicly admitting that he is capable of manipulating public perception through lies. Lies that could destroy Malema's political career instantly. Lies that could turn millions of South Africans against the very man fighting for land expropriation, economic justice, and dismantling white monopoly capital. Rupert jokes about it, but we must not joke, because this shows how casually the powerful think about truth when their interests are threatened. Many of you know the name, but let me give you the full picture. Johan Rupert is not just a rich man, he is a global tycoon, chairman of Richemont, which owns luxury brands like Cartier, Montblanc, and Dunhill. His wealth? Over $10 billion, but his power stretches far beyond watches and jewelry. He controls vast sectors of South Africa's economy, banking, mining, healthcare, and media. His family empire, Remgro, reaches into every corner of South Africa's economy, and for years, he has been accused of pulling political strings from the shadows, what many call the Stellenbosch Mafia. And here's where it gets even more disturbing.
Criminal here, Johan Rupert. If he loves this country and he wants this country to function, he must remove Pravin, because Pravin is put there by Johan Rupert. It's not Cyril. Cyril has got no power. He's a puppet. The real president is in Stellenbosch there. He's the one that threatened to collapse the economy of South Africa if Zuma doesn't reinstate Pravin. This one here. And it happened. Pravin came back. And he came back more powerful to come and destroy what is left of our state. These people can't take care of their own organization. The ANC is being liquidated. It's in court. It's owing monies to Ezulwini.
Malema stands before a massive EFF crowd and points directly at Rupert, calling him the real president of South Africa. Malema claims that it was Rupert who forced Jacob Zuma to reinstate Pravin Gordhan as finance minister. Malema calls Cyril Ramaphosa a puppet, suggesting that Rupert controls him. Whether you agree with Malema or not, ask yourself, how does one private individual wield so much political influence that he can allegedly demand cabinet reshuffles? Malema calls it what many fear to say. South Africa is not governed by elected leaders alone. The economic elite sit behind the throne. Now, let me give you something that shocked me even more when I found it.
The Cape Town leg, the bus landed in Johan Rupert's farm, a private farm. The whole national team with the cup arrived at the private farm of Johan Rupert. Nakito supporter lojana che wenna. Tabu Johan. What? The whole team. Icho nwa ya akisibika Maroko. Marabagaba barovechi ganako. So comrades, Maboko is an Afrikaner pride. It's an Afrikaner property. That's why the president of the Afrikaners, Johan Rupert, received Amabokoboko. Johan Rupert's farm is treated. Mabokoboko goes to Union Building, from Union Building to the mayor, from the mayor to Parliament, from Parliament to Johan Rupert's farm. They are at the same level. That's how the farm of Johan Rupert gets the national team. Not Mamelodi Sundowns of Patrice Motsepe going to Patrice Motsepe's farm. It's none of our business. Marayela Barkiari Naila. All of it on an official diary of rugby tour. Johan Rupert's farm. Parliament, Johan Rupert's farm. Same level. And then I must accept that I'm not part of that nonsense. I'm not going to support anything that represent white supremacists, anything that represent apartheid, everything that undermines black people. I will never be part of it. You can be part of your Mapoko. I will remain Bafana until the team of South Africa is brought back into action by the government of the EFF. There is talent. There is talent in South Africa. Our sport is not performing well because it's not funded. It has got no sponsors. Yet white sport gets all types of sponsors. That's why they thrive. I'm not going to be part of Together Forever what? Kamaka. Le rata gampu pretender ba sa tlo le sotla makgowa ka le rata gampu ba binela le mo eleng ra go nyakeng. I'm not going to dance to that.
Malema reveals that the entire South African national team, including the captain, visited Johan Rupert's private farm. A national team representing the pride of South Africa going to pay respects to a private businessman? What does that tell you about status and power in this country? Malema emphasizes, Johan Rupert's private farm is treated like a national institution, on par with Parliament and the Union buildings. When state power bows before private wealth like this, what democracy do we truly have? Now, let's not pretend this is just about Malema versus Rupert. This is about something bigger. This is about who really runs South Africa. Rupert has been criticized for decades for representing what many call white monopoly capital. While ordinary black South Africans struggle with unemployment, poverty, and lack of land ownership, the descendants of apartheid's beneficiaries still control the economy. Rupert denies being part of any Stellenbosch mafia. In fact, in his interview, he even says, "I don't live in Stellenbosch, I live in Somerset West," as if changing your suburb changes your power. He mocks Malema for giving him attention, saying Malema revived his relevance. But beneath this mockery lies something sinister. Because if Rupert is powerful enough to casually threaten to plant fake evidence against a political leader, imagine what else he is capable of behind closed doors. Let me drop another fact. Rupert's influence is not only economic. His family has long held stakes in media. When you control both wealth and information, you shape public opinion. You control what stories dominate headlines. You decide who gets painted as a villain and who as a hero. South Africans must ask, how much of what we hear every day is filtered through the lens of people like Rupert? How much of the demonization of radical leaders like Malema is crafted to protect entrenched wealth? The term white monopoly capital became highly controversial. Some call it a political weapon, others call it the undeniable truth. Let's strip the emotions for a second and just look at hard numbers. Land ownership remains overwhelmingly in white hands. The top companies controlling mines, banks, insurance, and major industries remain historically white-controlled. Economic transformation is crawling while poverty among black South Africans remains sky high. So when Malema screams about white monopoly capital, it is not simply rhetoric. It speaks to the lived reality of millions who still feel dispossessed 30 years after the end of apartheid. Yes, Rupert funds conservation projects, charity work, and children's programs. And yes, those efforts are real. But let's be brutally honest. Philanthropy does not erase structural economic dominance. In fact, it often serves as a public relations shield, softening criticism while the power structures remain intact. South Africa, I need you to hear this part carefully. democracy. When a billionaire can casually threaten to fabricate text messages to destroy a political opponent, we are not talking about democracy. We are talking about plutocracy, where money determines truth. If Rupert can make such threats publicly, imagine what threats happen behind closed doors. Imagine what promises are made in boardrooms far from the eyes of ordinary people. And here's the final gut punch. Rupert says he never even met Malema, but was ready to fabricate evidence suggesting a secret financial relationship. That is the extent to which narrative can be weaponized by the elite. South Africa, we have to ask, can true land reform happen while these economic empires remain untouched? Can real black economic empowerment take place if those who speak against the elite risk character assassination through manufactured scandals? Can we build a just South Africa when truth itself can be twisted so casually by the most powerful? Whether you support Malema or not is irrelevant. This is not just about Julius Malema. This is about the structure of our society. This is about who truly governs South Africa. Because if billionaires can invent lies to destroy political threats, then ordinary citizens are nothing but spectators in a game rigged by the powerful. South Africa, you need to understand, when you hear terms like white monopoly capital, don't dismiss them as political buzzwords. They reflect real dynamics of power, wealth, and control. The elite might laugh on camera. They might downplay their influence. But behind that laughter sits fear. Fear of losing control. Fear of radical transformation. Fear of leaders who call for dismantling their monopoly over land, capital, and political influence. When Malema says Rupert is the real president, it might sound extreme. But after hearing Rupert himself threaten to invent evidence against Malema, how extreme does it really sound? South Africa, open your eyes. Because the biggest dangers to our democracy are not always the ones shouting on podiums. Sometimes they are the ones laughing quietly behind closed doors, ready to crush anyone who dares to challenge their rule. Let's talk about it in the comments. This is the fight for South Africa's soul.